We all had them. Those childhood fears that seemed ridiculous in the daylight, but became suffocating realities once the sun went down. The monster under the bed, thing lurking in the closet, the shape in the dark corner of the room that definitely moved when you looked away. For me, it wasn't a monster or a demon. My fear had a name, Simon, and he lived in the static. I grew up in an old farmhouse way out on Cedar Road, miles from the nearest neighbor, surrounded by woods so thick in summer they blotted out the stars. It was quiet, too quiet sometimes. Lay on top of my sheets, sweating, staring at the ceiling fan wobbling uselessly. The old TV was off, a dark rectangle in the corner. But the silence felt heavy, oppressive. Then a low hum started, not from the TV. It wasn't just looking at me. It felt like it was looking into me. Seeing every secret fear, every hidden shame, the whispers seemed to coil around the bed, brushing against my ears with icy tendrils. I squeezed my eyes shut, burying my face in my pillow, praying for morning. A sleek, modern place downtown. High floor, city lights glittering outside the huge windows. Everything was unpacked except one box. My childhood mementos, tucked away in the back of my closet. I found it. City lights cast strange, shifting patterns on the ceiling. A sound that froze the blood in my veins. A sound from my nightmares. A sound that shouldn't exist in this apartment, with its brand new, digital crystal clear television. The silence felt heavy, too quiet, like the quiet before the hum started back on Cedar Road. I squeezed my eyes shut. It's over. It's gone. It was just a picture. A small framed picture of me as a kid, standing proudly in front of that old wood-paneled TV in my bedroom. I smiled faintly, shaking my head at the memory. Then I noticed something. Something I'd never seen before. Reflected dimly in the dark TV screen in the photo wasn't just my childhood self, standing slightly behind me. Barely more than a smudge of gray and stripes. It was a figure. Pale, watching. From everywhere. The walls. The floorboards. A low electrical vibration that set my teeth on edge, and within it, whispers. It didn't break, just clattered on the hardwood floor. I backed away, my breath coming in short gasps. It was just a trick of the light in the photo, I told myself desperately. A smudge on the glass, old film grain, but the fear. That old childhood terror, it flooded back, thick and cloying, faint, distorted, like a radio tuned between stations. I rarely thought about Simon. Just a bad dream, I told myself. A kid's overactive imagination fueled by isolation and an old faulty TV. That's what I needed to believe. I couldn't make out words, just a sense of waiting. Wrong. Then one night during a thunderstorm that knocked out the power for a split second, the TV blared back to life with that deafening static scream. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, a faint gray light began to bleed into the center of the screen. Not the full static blast. Just a small, circular patch of swirling gray fuzz. And within it, single dark eye. Simon's eye, unblinking, fixed on me from the depths of the dead television. They chalked it up to a nightmare brought on by the storm, but I knew I saw him. And I named him Simon. Because names make things real, and somehow, that felt even worse. Normal. But the room felt violated, charged with a lingering wrongness, and the smell. Ozone, like after a lightning strike, mixed with something faintly sour, like old pennies. Blood. I never turned that TV on again. I threw a blanket over it. Eventually, my parents got me a new one. Small modern set with perfect digital clarity. No static. Simon, I thought, was gone. Buried in the junk pile of childhood fears. And in the center of the chaos was a boy. Clear as day. He looked about my age, 8 or 9. Pale skin, almost gray, like the static itself. Dark, empty eyes that didn't blink. And he wore this old-fashioned striped shirt, red and white, like something from a bad carnival. He just stood there, perfectly still, staring out of the screen right at me, especially after my dad brought home that old TV from my room. Massive wood-paneled beast from the 70s. The picture was always a little fuzzy, prone to rolling or flickering, especially late at night. His presence was like a physical coldness spreading from the TV screen, making the hairs on my arms stand up. I'd read on the living room couch until I passed out. I'd begged to sleep with my parents, at anything to escape that blank static gaze. And when it lost the signal, that hissing gray static filled the screen. That's where Simon appeared. At first it was just shapes. Shadows moving within the shifting gray patterns, like seeing faces in clouds, only darker, I screamed. My parents came running, but by the time they flicked on the light, the TV was just showing its normal, fuzzy late-night movie. Simon didn't appear every night, just often enough. Always in the static, always staring, silent. One sweltering August night, the air conditioning broke. My room was an oven. My eyes were drawn, magnetically, to the dark TV screen. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The cold radiating from the screen was like winter frost, chilling the sweat on my skin. When I finally dared to look again, hours later, as dawn bled gray light through the curtains, the TV was dark and silent. Years passed. I grew up, moved away for college, then work. The old farmhouse was sold after my parents retired. Last week, I moved into a new apartment. A chill, colder than any I'd felt since that farmhouse, crawled down my spine. I dropped the picture frame. That night, lying in my unfamiliar bed in my silent modern apartment, I couldn't sleep. Then from the living room, the static, blaring from my living room TV. The TV that wasn't even plugged in. He wasn't in the TV, you see. He was in the static. And static. Static can be anywhere.